panel here. Got control. There we go. Does that work? Well, Mama, are we looking good for joining us for this program? The 6 keys to reaching and enjoying your best or your life's best success. I wanted to talk to you about this particular aspect of life and leadership today because so many people spend their lives busy about business, and they reach incredible levels of success that look like success to other people, but in their own lives they are unhappy, they're unsatisfied and unfulfilled. And so I wanted to talk to you about the 6 keys to reaching and enjoying your life's best success, a success that you can really enjoy and appreciate. And let's see here if I can minimize this guy, then I can go to my next screen. I'm not sure. Can't share with me. My next screen. This webinar, you're going to discover the #1 perspective shift you need to succeed, how to move beyond looking successful to actually being successful and enjoying your life, the very fastest way to reach any goal, how to say yes to every opportunity that aligns itself with your deepest desires, how to stop procrastinating and start moving directly toward your goals, and the power of patience and why you need it now. As we go through this program, I want you to keep in mind the amazing reality of the uniqueness of you. When all is strung together, your 3 billion base pair of DNA, he did it in a particular way. There is no one else on planet Earth that is just like you. No one else in all of history that is just like you. And when you think of DNA, it is what makes you, you, the building blocks of you. So if you were to think of a car manufacturer building a car, the pieces that he would use, the pieces that would be put together to make that car into that particular car would be different from someone who was making an airplane, or someone who was making a bicycle, or someone who was making a garment for someone to wear. As you build things, you pull together particular pieces, particular units and components, and you put them together in a particular way in order to get a specific outcome. That is you. You are unique. Your DNA are strung together, particularly in the way that they are, to create the unique you that we experience every day. And it's incredibly important for you to recognize how unique you are compared to anyone else that you ever meet. One of the things that happens with people, with leaders, is that they start seeing themselves as part of something that is not themselves. They're drawn to complete things and to do things that are outside of their normal sphere or their DNA makeup. And that's where we get lost and where we get unsatisfied. If you think of your fingerprint, look at your thumb right now. As I'm talking, look at your thumb. And it's amazing that this thumb, that little thumbprint, can identify you. Out of all of you, that little piece of your body, that the ridges on your thumb can identify who you are. They are so unique to you that there is no one else that has the same one. Now I want you to just look at this thumbprint for just a moment, because as you'll see, it's kind of circular. Do you see that in the center? There's a center point, and then it kind of rotates out from that center point. And that is the uniqueness of you. Now here's another circular picture. This one has a center point, and then it has circles out, correct? All right, that's one. And we call this a target. You know, if you were going to shoot an arrow at it, or a gun or whatever, you would want to hit that center point. The next one shows 2 of these circles that are kind of the same. So the one on the left is the target we just looked at. The one on the right is different. It is more like a funnel. There's a center point, but as you can see, there are lines around the outside edges that go in, and if you would follow the open space from the outside to the inside, it actually makes a path for you. You see that? So on the left side, you have the ability to see a target and go directly toward it. But how you're created is more that you start on the outside and you work toward the center. So if we go back to this, you can see it's more like the circular pathways. You see that? All right, there's another picture of it. So on the left side, we have the target in the middle. But the lines are closed. There is no moving from the black line to the white line. You are in the black line. You would have to make a leap to get into the white line. Whereas on the right-hand side, once you start down a white path, it draws you directly toward the center goal. This is how your life is. Your subconscious is built in such an amazing way. The subconscious mind is processing up to 20 million stimuli per second, whereas the conscious mind is processing up to 40 stimuli per second. If you were to say that we were going to put the subconscious mind and the conscious mind into a ring and have them have a boxing match together, they're going to fight each other to see who's more powerful, we'd already know who's going to win. The subconscious is like a 20 million pound sumo wrestler fighting this little scrawny 40 stimuli per second conscious mind. So obviously, the way that you're built is going to win over your conscious mind every time. The deal is that the conscious mind is the driver, while the subconscious mind is the engine behind the driver. So as we go through life, we have these opportunities to recognize that something is happening inside of us that's bigger than what we can comprehend with our conscious mind. It's this 20 million stimuli per second thing going on, driving us, if you will, to the center. And every time we try to resist that, we get kickback from our conscious mind or subconscious mind, because that is what it's striving to do. So if you imagine the subconscious mind is in existence to keep you going toward what your DNA was built to have you do and be. More importantly, be, but then the do is the result of the be. You are, and then what you do comes out of who you are. If you're following along with this, if you're fighting it all the way, life is just so difficult and it's so confusing. Vibrationally, you are being driven to be who you were created to be. That's why someone maybe goes to school to be a doctor, let's say, because his grandfather was a doctor, his father was a doctor, now he's going to be a doctor or she's going to be a doctor because of that. But inside, there's this desire to maybe be an artist or to do something different. Internally, your vibrational facts will never lie. You were created in a particular way to be on earth today. I mean, you weren't born 1,000 years ago. You weren't born 1,000 years from now. You were born now. You are here at this time of all of history with a unique body chemistry makeup. You are body electric. I'm going to pause there for a second. Your body electric, which means, you know, it's different from, let's say if I had live wires coming out of a wall, okay, live electrical wires. If I put a brick up to those wires, nothing happens because the brick is not electric. If I put you up to those wires or I touch those wires, it's completely different because we are body electric. And this electric body has responses to things that come at it. It isn't only responses to electrical charges, it's responses to thoughts, and how they react inside of us causes vibrations. And sometimes you might say causes an explosion in your head. You're all of a sudden angry. You're all of a sudden afraid. These things are normal because of how you are built. Your subconscious mind exists to keep you stable and sane, keep everything normal. So as an example of this, if you begin to get too hot, your subconscious mind, without any conscious effort at all, your subconscious mind is going to push sweat to the top of your skin to help cool you down. If you get too cold, it pushes blood up underneath to cause little goosebumps on your skin, little bumps on your skin that warm you up. If you start to fall, your hands automatically go out to stabilize your body. The subconscious is doing this in every way, and it is affecting your ability to achieve the goals that you've set. Because if your goals are not in alignment with what you were designed to be, your DNA, you're not going to be able to go quickly and easily toward them. You're going to be fighting all of the way. So now we're going to back up just a little bit, and we'll come back to this at the end, but we're going to back up just a little bit. And I'm going to talk to you about taking a trip. If I was going to come visit you right now in Saudi Arabia from my home in America, I would plan that. I would get a ticket, and I would get everything in line. I would pack and I would prepare, and I would know exactly where I was flying out of and where I was flying into. There would be no sense of lostness about this. I would know exactly when I was leaving, from where, to where, when I would arrive, who would pick me up. All of these things would be planned, and you would plan a trip exactly the same way. With our lives, we don't think about it like that. We just kind of think, well, I'll just go. You know, I'll just show up at the airport and see what flights are available. Or if you put the same picture into your life, somehow we miss this step of being very intentional about what we want to accomplish, who we are, where we want to go in life. And we have to start there in order to get there. So one of the things that I train people to do over at Marnie.com is to come up with the elevator pitch. And an elevator pitch just means, this is, if someone were to say to you, what do you do for a living? What is it that you do? That you would be able to tell them the answer in the amount of time it takes the elevator to get from the ground floor to where you're getting off. Very quick. And this is just one of the trainings I have. In fact, there's over at Marnie.com, there's over 200 free training modules for you. And they're in the categories that are listed here. So whatever it is that is in your heart to do with your life, you can come over here and you can start to take trainings from people who have already done it, people who have gone before you, who can help you to understand what to do, whether you want to write a book or whether you want to organize a huge event or whether you want to do better with your media or marketing. All of these things are available to you at Marnie.com. I encourage you to go over there. One of the training, just one of the training, is with Lisa B. Marshall, and she teaches you how to write the elevator pitch. So if I was going to give you the condensed version of this, it would start with your name, then you would give your area of expertise, how you help people, what it is that you actually do, and why you're different or the best. And then there would be a call to action, like, what is your greatest need right now? Or is there anything about this that resonates with you? Or what is it that you do? Is there anything I could do to help you? I mean, the elevator pitch is meant to take you to the next level. But what you see here is that in order to give one of these, you have to have an area of expertise. You have to know how you help. You have to know what you do and why you're different or best. And you have to know what you need the other person to do. These are all very specific things. What happens in life is what we call in America Waldo. So Where's Waldo is a series of books that have pictures, chaotic pictures like this one. And the goal is that you look at the picture and you find Waldo. So I'm going to take you to the next screen here in just a moment, but I want you to memorize what Waldo looks like, and this is what you're looking for. You're looking for this little man who's waving. It's a chaotic mess, and you have to somehow find Waldo. So the name of the book is Where's Waldo? Now I'm going to show you the next picture, and I'm going to show you where Waldo is. There's Waldo over on the left-hand side. See him over there? Now if we go back to the same cluttered mess, are you able to see Waldo immediately? Why? Because you knew what you were looking for. This key component of being very clear about who you are and why you're here is what's going to make the difference between you being a success in the eyes of others and you actually experiencing and feeling success yourself in your life. And it is so very important. There are too many ideas and not enough time. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get very clear about why you're here. And I'm going to invite you. I'm doing a Mission Vision Boot Camp in like 2 weeks. And it usually costs $99. But because you are here today, if you go over to money.com and you register for that, and you just tell me I was at your GBN training, I'll let you in for free. So just know, if you don't already know what your mission is, what your vision is, how your DNA is set up, and what you're here to do, you need to start with this piece. And I can't give it to you all right now because there's just only so much time here. That training takes about 2 hours. But you will walk away with a clear vision of what you're supposed to be doing. And that's going to be as valuable to you as anything that you will ever do in your life. 2 hours in order to get very clear about that. Because once you know this, then the next thing is that you can say yes to the things that align with who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, and no to everything else. So at that point, you can memorize this phrase. And this has changed my life because I never knew how to say yes or no. I couldn't really say no. I would feel too bad about it. And so I'd say yes all the time. But if you understand this, and I'm going to read it to you first. Every time I say yes to something, I have in effect said no to something else. But every time I say no to something, I have in effect said yes to something else. So if you're unclear about what you're supposed to be doing, about how you were built and why you exist on planet Earth today, you will have a very difficult time to say no to anything. And you'll just be saying yes to everything. Or conversely, you'll just say no to everything. You will never know what to say yes to or what to say no to. Several years ago, I was very busy. I was homeschooling my children. I was leading many programs in our church and community. I was busy with many things. My platter was completely full. And at that point, it came to my heart to write a newspaper article every week for parents. And it was something that I wanted to do, but there was simply no time. I had to say no because there was no time. But it didn't go away. It kept coming back to me. This thought to do this kept coming back to me. And after a time, I realized I had to do it. But there was no time. So what was I to do? There was this wonderful thing I had the opportunity to do. I had the heart to do. I even felt compelled to do. Like from inside of me, I knew that I should do, but I had no time. And when I looked at the other things that were on my platter to do, I really saw nothing that I could take off my platter. Those were all things that I was also supposed to do. So what I did is I just prayed. And I said, Allah, if you want me to do this, then you're going to have to find the time. So I am going to put away my clock. I'm going to take off my watch. And I'm going to let you order my time. And I'm going to do it the way that you orchestrate it to be done. Well, guess what? That began the next stage of my journey, where I began to be able to do things that nobody would have thought was possible to do in a 24-hour period of time. Nobody would imagine that I could manage a restaurant and a separate full retail store with 12 departments, and I could write 13 books, and I could host websites, and I could speak and do media appearances. How does a person do so much? It comes when you get very clear about what you're supposed to do, and then when you make the commitment to actually do. So becoming clear is the first step. I hope you'll join me at money.com for the Mission Vision Training if you aren't already clear. The second thing is, once you are clear, you have to have the heart to say no. So someone comes to you and they have a need. I want you to do this for me, or I need you to help me with this, or would you do this or that? And you obviously want to help them. We are wonderful people. We're loving people. We want to help. We want to support other people. We're by nature that way. So in the moment, if the person is right in front of you, and it's very difficult to say anything but yes, sure, I'll make that work. But the reality is, as you say yes to this person, you are saying no to the person who isn't right in front of you, to the person who also needs something from you, but they aren't right there to defend it, or maybe even to let you know about it right now. So this phrase lets you say no to something that does not align perfectly in scope or timing with what you are here to do. So just memorize this, print this, print your screen right now and make a copy of this and hang it somewhere and learn to use it. Every time I say yes to something, I have in effect said no to something else. And every time I say no to something, I have in effect said yes to something else. I want to talk for the next little bit right now about procrastination, because this is just critically important to understand why you procrastinate. Procrastination is the intentional engagement of the brain on a low priority item in order to avoid a high priority item. So you have been going along, being driven and pulled toward your innate DNA-driven goals and dreams and passions. But you come to a point where you've got a high priority item that needs to be done, but something about it is causing you stress. You're not even sure why you don't want to do it necessarily. Sometimes you know why, but a lot of times you don't know why. But what you find yourself doing is something else, some other busy work, something that also needs to be done, or something that's just plain entertaining, or, mind-numbing, or just, avoidance pattern. And so I'm going to give you the 3 reasons why you will find yourself procrastinating, even when you really know that you have this high priority item to do. So the first one I call red light, green light. And if you are driving a car and you're coming up to a stop and go light with a red, a gold, or a yellow light going to be in front of you, or green light going to be in front of you, what you're going to do is you're just going to, if it's red, you're just going to stop, obviously. If it's green, you're going to go. You don't have any question about that. You can go. But it is at the point when it's yellow that you have the quandary. Should I stop, or should I put my foot all the way to the floor and go? And this is one of the main reasons for procrastination in our lives, is that we don't know what to do. We see this opportunity ahead of us, or we see something coming at us that's a deadline, but we don't know if we're supposed to floor it, or if we're just supposed to stop and not do that right now at all. Like, is that for a later time? Example is that I've written many books. Most books take quite a long time to write, maybe even 2 years. But one time I was looking for a scavenger hunt. I love to host parties, and scavenger hunts are one of my favorite things. And so over the years, I've hosted many, many, many scavenger hunt parties. And I was looking for a new scavenger hunt to host. And I went online and I looked all over, this is many years ago, went online, looked all over, and what I could find was mostly just what I had already tried. I couldn't find anything new and fun to do. And I went over to my file cabinet and I pulled out a huge file full of all these little sheets of paper and scavenger hunts that I had already done, scavenger hunts that my friends had done, that they'd sent me a copy of because they knew I loved it, all that kind of thing. I pulled out this huge file of scavenger hunts. And as I looked down into my hands, I found that I was holding a book. I was actually holding a book, which went on to be Marnie's Scavenger Hunt Handbook. Over 50 fun relational hunts for you. So the file I was holding became a book. Now, the question I had in that moment was, how does this become a book? I knew it was to be a book. In that moment, I was very clear, like green light, it's to become a book. But how is it to become a book? So I didn't know. I was like, well, do I work on it right now? Green light. Do I give it to someone to have them put together? That would be like yellow light or red light. What should I do? And so there was that just a little bit of tension there with what I should do. What I did is I went and I looked at my calendar, and I saw that there was openings of scheduling times. There was openings within a week of it. There were several openings where I could put chunks of time. Some of them were in the night, and I could find time. And within 1 week, I had that entire book manuscript done, sent it in. It was accepted by my publisher and published within the next year then. What happened here is that I had a green light, but then right away I went to a yellow light. How? How was my yellow light? And as soon as I understood that I didn't need to stop and wait for something else to happen, that I was just to go for it, then I could put my foot to the floor and just go. And it was done very quickly. If you aren't sure about that, a lot of times what happens is you slam on the brakes. And when you do that, you miss the opportunity to go through the lights and to get to the other side and keep moving. It's called being stuck. And I work with a lot of people on my front page at marnie.com. You'll see the progression of progress. And stuck is a big part. And this yellow light syndrome is a big part. So the next time you feel yourself hesitating because you don't know if you're supposed to floor it or if you're supposed to slam on the brakes, then remember this illustration and just ask, just pray and say, what should I do? And ask for direction. The next one that we find with procrastination is the free fall. Now this is a picture of a man who has jumped out of an airplane and he has a parachute on, and it's called skydiving, and he is doing it for fun, and he is literally having a great time. I mean, look at that face. So he is falling, free falling toward the ground, and this is just fine. And that's kind of how we are when we're on a roll. You know, you're just on a roll. Things are going really great, and you're just moving forward, and everything's going awesome, and you're just having a good time. So this guy is all fine and well, but there comes a point in his free fall where he has got to turn his body over, look at the ground, and prepare to pull his chute, or he's going to crash. Okay, that is another reason that we procrastinate, is we're just having too much fun doing what we're doing. And we are not taking time to prepare for what's coming next. And sometimes we just stay in our little la-la fun land too long, and we end up not turning over fast enough to look at the ground and pull our chute in time to have a safe landing. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying the ride. There's nothing wrong with free falling. There's nothing wrong with any of this unless we carry it too far. So the key here is to, again, recognize what is it that's the most important, and am I going to be prepared for it? So a lot of things that we use in order to do this is we use deadlines and calendars and things like that. One of the things that you want to do is, if you find that you're like a last minute person, you would probably want to have several deadlines. Like he might flip over, look down, and then flip back again and relax for another 5 seconds. You know, whatever it is for you, you are the only you built like you, and you have to figure this out for yourself. And that's what I help people do, but this is the key here, is that you want to figure this out. So the free fall is the other one. So first we had the red light, green light, and if you have a yellow light situation, you have to choose in that moment. Don't stay on the yellow light. Don't just sit there and pause forever and ever. Choose green or red and move forward. Then you have the free fall, which is wonderful, seasons of great delight and enjoyment, but be sure not to take your eye off the target and crash and burn on something else that's very important to you as well. The last one is the game show analogy, and I want to use reels for you. So if you were invited to be on a game show, and the deal was that you were going to have the opportunity to win some money, they were going to put one humongous pile of one reel notes over on one side of the stage. And on the other side of the stage was going to be a huge pile of 100 reel notes. And you were going to have the opportunity to get as many of those notes into your basket as you could in 30 seconds. So you go out on the, get ready to go out on the stage, and you're like, this is going to be easy because I can just put all the 100s in, and then I'll run over to the $1 pile or the one reel pile, and I will put all the ones in. But right before you go on the stage to see which side is which, they blindfold you, and you have no idea which pile is which. This is life, you guys. Sometimes you simply don't know. So in the game show analogy, you would actually go onto the stage blindfolded, not knowing if the 100 pile was on your right or on your left. You're going to have 30 seconds. So you have really only 3 choices here. You can go 100% to the pile on your left and spend as much time as there until you get most of it, and then run to the other pile. Or you could go all the way to the pile on your right, spend all of your time there until you get all of it, and then run to the other pile. Or you can divide your time equally in half, 15 and 15, so that even if you got the one real pile to begin with, you would be able to have just as much from the other pile, and you wouldn't miss out on any opportunity. Now, this is what you have to do if you're blindfolded. And that's what you have to do in life if you're blindfolded too. If you do not know, then you're going to have to split your attention until it becomes clear. But as soon as you know, let's say now that they make it real easy for you, and before you go on the stage, they don't blindfold you, and you just get to walk out. Well, anybody with any brains at all is going to go get all the 100 reels first, right? And then you would consider filling the rest of your basket with as many ones as you could. That's how life is. Sometimes you are very clear what you're supposed to do, what is the most beneficial thing to do, and you can just go straight for it without any procrastination at all. But other times when you aren't quite sure, then I encourage you to use the game show mentality. You just split the difference until it becomes clear, because it will become clear. That's the beautiful thing. We talked earlier about vibrations, and I want to give you an analogy and an example here. So goal progression is very much like a little acorn or seed growing into a tree. The seed is very small. The tree is very large. But you don't just go from one to the other immediately. It takes time. It takes water. It takes sun. You have to leave it in the ground and don't keep pulling it up. This is what goal progression is. You plant a seed and then you let it grow, and you have to keep on nurturing it until it becomes a tree. So in goal progression, what we tend to want is to have everything at once. We just want to plant it and have it be full grown at once, but it doesn't grow like that. There is a progression, and we have to let it go according to the progression. Even in addition to this, not only is there a progression, but there's seasons. And we tend to really prefer one season over another. Like most of us in the season of like winter, the bottom right, most of us don't like to be in that season. We really prefer to be in full bloom or bearing fruit, or at least colorful in the fall. We don't really prefer to be barren and in hibernation in the winter. We want to be producing. So it is our responsibility then to recognize that there's a progress, there's a process, and that we are supposed to be comfortable with this process, to be committed to the process. And this is where patience really comes in. You cannot just go from idea to full bloom goal achievement all in one day, unless it's a very small goal. You have to look at what you're doing. I do a program called the ABCs of Success, and in there, the first one is A. You assess what needs to be done and you assign it a value. So in this picture, we would say, I assess that I need to plant the acorn. I need to leave it in the ground without uprooting it all the time to see if it's working. And I need to leave it in the ground and not uproot and throw it aside thinking that it's not working. I just need to give it time. I need to nourish it and feed it and give it time. Remember your thumbprint and how it goes around toward the center. That's kind of what you're doing. You're just getting more and more focused and more convinced that this is the direction of your life, that this is the goal that you want to achieve, that this is where you're going. One of our Olympians, she says, Gabby Douglas, she says, the hard days are the best days because that's where champions are made. She has assessed the need to go through a lot of pain as an Olympic gymnast in order to get the gold medal. So she doesn't associate pain with something bad when she's training. She associates pain with a gold medal. That makes her willing to go through the process of waiting, of working, of doing everything in her power to move toward that gold medal, even if it means incurring pain. So as you're going toward your goals, first of all, you know, like we talked about earlier, you want to get really clear about what you want, what you're here for, what you're supposed to be doing, the mission, vision. Then you want to work toward it very specifically and intentionally by saying yes to everything that is taking you closer to why you're here, and saying no to the things that are going to distract you. You want to be really clear about not allowing procrastination to creep in, so that you can actually move toward your goals in a targeted way without losing time being stuck. And then you want to not uproot them. Once you understand where you're supposed to go, you want to leave them in the ground, let them go. Do you know that an acorn in the ground doesn't go anywhere? It just sits in the ground and vibrates. It is alive, and it vibrates, and it draws to it everything that is needed to take it from a tiny little seed to a tree. You, my friend, are body electric. You are vibrating. And when you are very clear about what you're here to do, what your purposes are for being here in this world, in this life, then you have this amazing opportunity to go there. You will experience days when it is so small that you think it will never become anything. You will experience seasons of fall, lush, green blooms on your life and on your goals. And you will experience seasons of bearing fruit, as well as seasons when it looks like it's all being torn away, as well as seasons when it looks like it's all gone and it's dead and there's nothing left for you. But the reality is that all of these seasons are part of the process of being you. And as soon as you recognize that you are not a mistake, that you are truly created in a particular way, your 3 billion base pair of DNA are strung together uniquely compared to any other human being that has ever been. And you are here right now at this time in history to accomplish specific works. And you already kind of have an inkling of what those are, because you know what turns your crank. You know what makes you happy. You know what you're interested in. And it's not the same as everybody else. It's unique to you. Some things are the same as some other people, obviously, but your whole mix is unique to you. So what I do over at Marnie.com is it's membership, and I just encourage you to go over, ask for the free pass, and just tour around in there, see what it is that you need. Be sure to plan to join us for the mission vision training. If you don't already know, if I'm talking, if I'm talking a foreign language and you're like, I just don't know. I don't know my mission or vision. I've never heard this before. I've never studied it to figure it out. Come now and figure it out, because if you're trying to be, if you're trying to be a jet plane, but you're really supposed to be a gondola or a bicycle, it's just not going to work. And so you want to figure out what you are created to be and to do, and then you can go for it with all of your might. I thank you for the opportunity to share this. I think we're going to open it up for questions, but it's been great to share with you the 6 keys to reaching and enjoying your life's best success. And that is my heart for you, my friend. Not only that you would appear successful to other people, but that every night when you go to bed, you would experience and feel that wonderful sensation of being a successful person, of actually being the person that you were created and designed to be. And that is indeed your life's best success. Thank you. Mama?
Thank you very much for such a fascinating presentation. Folks, we are now open for the question answer session. If you have any questions, you can either put in the question box given in the end of the webinar console, or you could equally raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon available on the webinar console. So let me go straight to the question box. Marnie, we have a question that is, you spoke of body electric. You can explain that a bit more?
Yes. Oh, I love talking about body electric. So a lot of times we don't recognize this. Here's an example of how you know that this is affecting things. So You walk into the room and someone is there, and you just get the sense that something's wrong, and you say, "Hi, is everything okay?" And the person's like, "Yep, everything's fine." And you're like, "Huh." And so you walk around to the front of them and you look at them and you say, are you sure you're okay?" "Yes, I'm fine." They kind of snap back at you. And then you're like, did I do something to bother you?" "No, I'm fine." And they're still kind of a little touchy. What's going on here is that you're sensing that their words are not in alignment with the vibrations they're sending out to you. They are sending you a vibration that things are not fine, but they are saying with their mouth, "Everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. You didn't do anything bad." So we've all had that experience where someone is saying something that is not in line with their vibrational being. And that's one indication of body electric. The problem is here that when you are saying, "I want to make a million, real," or "I want to do this or that or the other," but your DNA is not in line with that, how you were created to be, what you were created to do is not in line with that, you've got conflicting vibrations going on right inside your own body, inside your head. You are conflicting and fighting against yourself. So this is so important for you to get to a place of peace inside yourself, where what you're saying and what you're wanting to do is in line with what you were designed to do. And for some people, that's a hard journey because it's been drilled into them since they were little. This is what you're going to do. And so it's very difficult to actually find that and get in line with it. And a lot of times, once you're in line with that, you can do whatever it is that you're already doing. You just do it in a different way. You do it in the way that you were created to do, and you find great peace there. But it's kind of like another analogy is it's kind of like a thermostat. If in your home you have a thermostat and you set it to a certain temperature for hot or cold or whatever, that is going to change the thermostat in your home up and down depending on what you do. But if you look at like animals in the world, like our bodies are set at 37 centigrade. But if you were a goat, you'd be at 39.7. If you were a rabbit, you'd be at 38.3. We're not all the same, and we don't get to change what our body thermostat is set at. It does change by external things will make us hotter or colder, but we are always, right, our subconscious exists to keep us stable. We are always going to be reaching for, going back to that set point that keeps our body functioning properly. It is the same way with what you're doing with your life. You have got to figure out what you are trying to go for and then go for it. Because as soon as you align with that, your vibrations align, you're going to experience so much more joy in life. It's just going to be, it's not that it gets easy, you still work, but it's not the same kind of work as, crashing into a brick wall all the time.
Thank you, Manny. And other one for you is that how can we track our progress and make adjustments on daily basis?
Yeah, that's great. So the assessment and evaluation. So back to the ABCs of success. The A is assess and the E is evaluate. So you're constantly doing these two pieces. It's like a bookend on a bookshelf. It keeps the books on the shelf. And so what happens is if you don't keep evaluating, you're going to actually get too many books on your bookshelf. You're going to fall off and just be off doing stuff you don't need to do. So continually be looking at what you are doing. Is this what's taking me toward my goal? And there are so many different systems to use with that. You can either do, the end of the day closeout, asking yourself a series of questions. What I do is when I lay down in bed, I just say, how is it with us today? And what I'm looking for is, well done, my good and faithful servant. That's what I'm looking for. And if that's on track, then I just can go to sleep. And if that's not on track, then we have a little chat before I go to sleep. So however it is that works for you is the critical thing here. Some of you are listies, some of you are not. Some of you use different processes. Again, you were created to do it in a particular way. So you're going to, yes, want to keep assessing and evaluating, and you're going to want to do it in a way that works with your life, with your personality.
Thank you, Manny, for the brief answer. We have another one that is, how can we manage our time, our business, and our social life to best reach our goals?
Right. Okay. So there's, life balance is just critical. I do a program over at Marnie.com called Success Principles Intensive, and there's a sheet in there that you can use to identify, what your life components are, and then what the priorities are of them. There is no amount of success that is business success that is going to satisfy you if along the way you lose all your important relationships, or if you lose your health. It has to be balanced. And so when you recognize, one of the most beautiful things about recognizing that you're unique is that it allows you truly to say no to so many things that are just sucking up your time and your energy for no good cause. Once you are very clear about what you're doing and that this is what you were created to do, you will find that you can say no to things that allow you to have the time and space to actually live your life and enjoy your relationships and your health, as well as to have your business be going. I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, there should be no way that I could do all the things that I do. But the reality is that I am doing what I was created to do. So therefore, there is not only time, there is peace in it. And it is such a different place to live than just working, and that is not a healthy way. So I'm not sure if I answered that question exactly right, but the goal is to figure out what your true direction and goal and purposes are, your mission, vision, and then to align everything with those. And you will find that, it's like vibration. You can have a chaotic sounding, if you have two or three radio stations playing at the same time, it sounds just chaotic and awful. But if you narrow that down to one radio station, all of a sudden it's beautiful music. That's how your life is going to feel. As you get focused on what you're here for and what you're supposed to do, your life is going to come into alignment. It is going to feel very different to you from what it feels like right now when you're not quite clear about that.
Thank you, Ms. Marnie, for a great presentation. Before we end the webinar, Marnie, do you have any concluding remarks?
Yes, I want to encourage you that sometimes as you're moving toward your goal, as you're moving toward your mission and vision, you may feel like you've come to a stop or like you've lost your way a little bit. In times like those, it's helpful to think of it like being on a highway, a busy thoroughfare with many other cars all around you. You can't really get off because there's too many cars around you. But you find yourself stuck. You're stopped because up ahead there's an accident and it's blocking the way. And you can't get off the highway. You can't turn around. You can't go forward. You're just stuck. You're just sitting there. The key to remember in times like that is that you are still going the right direction. You haven't given up. Life has just paused you for a moment. Once again, that's a wonderful time to practice. Whenever you feel that you really pause, this isn't like a yellow light situation. You're really stopped. You have to stop here because life has stopped you for some reason. When you're in those situations, it's a great time to practice, assess, and evaluate. So you would assess your situation. You would say, why am I stopped here? What caused me to stop? You would look around and you'd say, traffic jam due to an accident. I am stopped. This is how it is. You would assign it a value. You'd say, I am stuck here for however long it's going to be, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long it's going to be. What should I use this time for? You could either meditate or pray or possibly call someone you love or jot some notes about what you want to do later in the day. You can use that time. And then when you evaluate it later, when you get unstuck, you would not look back and say, oh, what a waste of time. You would look back and you'd say, that came in pretty handy. That really improved my day to have those few minutes that I could do nothing about. It's all in how we approach these things. And I hope that you will look at life a little differently going forward from today. And I'd love to be part of your life in any way that could work. Thank you.